Hey guys, Chaps here, and let's break down another Gears 5 dev stream. Each of these is about 2 hours long, so hopefully I can help by clipping out the important stuff and providing my thoughts. Let's get started.
Obviously this stream is more about Gears 5, but just in case you didn't know, we did release an initial update for Gears Tactics earlier this week, and we have more in the works to address some key kind of mentioned issues, in whether you've been mentioning in the Steam community, on Twitter, on the Gears forums, in Discord. We've been kind of grabbing them, and we have more solutions coming. And if you didn't see it, if you are being impacted by GT 502, we've got kind of a longer term investigation going on that as well.
I still haven't tried Tactics, not sure if I will, but I'm sure people are glad to see that they're updating it.
Basically, the Mark II Lancer is kind of a slip-in. It's not something that's coming, it's not meant to be a tease. What happened with that is basically we have a dev menu that lets you spawn in weaponry, and by default, because obviously we're building on Gears 4, that Lancer is the first thing. When you hit like spawn a Lancer, it spawns that. So no, the Mark II is not coming as a skin.
It's understandable that the mistake would be made, and it's sort of understandable that it wasn't caught. I mean, the Mark II looks pretty similar, and you really got to be looking to catch stuff like that. That said, it is pretty lame that TC let something like this slip through.
Now, in case of the Bushka, initially there was potential that the Bushka was going to be added to Gears 5. It had no balance work had been done on it. The people that made the trailer have access, because they need to move the camera around. They also have access to a dev build, and they just pulled out the Bushka and used it, and it just got missed as we were going and looking at the footage. This was just a miss, and we're owning up to it. And right now, it's very, very unlikely that it will be in Gears 5.
It's basically a boom shot mock-up, the current Bushka. It's not actually a functional Bushka.
It sort of sounds like it wasn't even TC who made the trailer. But again, it's surprising that TC would miss something like this when proofing the trailer. Personally, I loved the Bushka, so it would have been nice to see. It's got to be a ton of work to add post-launch though, so I wouldn't get your hopes up.
I'm happy to report that the Gears 3 arm rip will be making its way into the game, and soon.
That's cool. I know a lot of people were requesting this.
One of the things we heard loud and clear from the Versus community is, hey, look, I get that you want to do this hero stuff, I get that you want to do all this cool stuff for PvE and do all these abilities, but it has no application to us whatsoever. And especially if you don't play arcade, none of this stuff that you're saying is why you're holding characters back is applicable to me. Or even if it is, I wish you had more characters more often. Instead of sticking to our guns on that, again, as part of the shift-changing thing, we kind of went, there isn't actually a really good excuse. The reasoning behind it in terms of making sure that it was clear what a character release was and what you could expect out of a character release and everything made sense. But there was, for the sake of clarity, there was also a ton of bad points for you guys. It's not like we've decided, we're not going to invest in those PvE abilities or anything like that by doing this. It's just simply we're not holding character releases back for that.
And this makes sense. It sucks that TC made this mistake in development, but hey, they're owning up to it, and we're starting to see changes. Good on them.
Yeah, people will be able to play on PvE with these characters as we're looking at kind of making that experience feel better. You're going to have to be patient with us. This is going to take time. This is much like the rank system where we're going back and taking apart a very core aspect of what Gears 5 launched with, and that work takes time.
Yeah.
And again, like the maps, we're doing everything takes a big chunk of time. The team can work on multiple things at the same time, but we have to stack rank and prioritize what's being done.
It sounds like it will be a pretty substantial change. I'm guessing a full delink of the classes from characters. I did a video about this back near launch. I'll probably do an updated one now.
On top of that, so obviously PvE players, you're still going to have lots to look forward to. Again, we can't, on top of what Dana was mentioning in terms of, how we're going to solve the character situation for you. In terms of these guys and everything. We have other things in the works. For example, we have a huge change list right now for kind of like the Operation 3 sized one, but I would argue bigger and definitely more impactful in the works. to kind of build off the feedback we got from the last round of changes. I was talking to PvE lead Michael Shannon about what he's doing, and from a gameplay perspective, again, part of this like listening to you and kind of honing in on like what you want more out of Horde, especially. There's a lot of kind of tuning changes coming that will continue to kind of build on what we tried to start with Operation 3. PvE is by no means being left in the dust in this.
That's great. The Op 3 changes were well received, but not significant enough. This sounds like more changes and more impactful changes. Looking forward to it.
Someone's asking about Anthony's default helmet. Yes, that has been flagged to the team, and right now they're looking at changes, what it would take, and when it can be done by.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know how people catch this type of stuff. It's a generic helmet. Who cares if it's slightly different? At least that's my opinion. Other characters have undergone significant changes between games. What's so special about a helmet? But whatever, I guess they'll look at changing it.
Some things I want to touch on with PvE actually. I'm going to drop a few minor tuning details that address some things in here. These are in progress. I don't want to pin.
I literally have no idea what Liam's about to say. I'm very
I know
nervous
he doesn't,
right now.
so don't worry. You're not going to be mad at me. So, for example, I'm seeing some people saying, some heroes are not viable on Master. A big thing that's being addressed in this is the fun factor and the difficulty of Master and the viability of characters in Master. Talk about all that in the details in the notes. I don't want to talk about any kind of specific numeric values or anything at this point until they've done that. That's for them their runway to land the plane on. But I will say that like character viability, making it so that you can just play kind of the kind of thing you feel like, and also that Master to make it a little bit less of a kind of crazy, super specific meta is the only thing that works experience in Horde. Horde's a big focus continued for the team, and like I feel really bad because PvE we've been very vague as of late, and we do want to do a stream about it. It's just like it's one of those things where there's so much being touched by the team that like it's got to be a little bit closer until we can do that.
The great thing about having a ton of classes is the variety that it can add. It's unfortunate that the meta in Horde, and somewhat Escape, has led to a fairly one-dimensional style at the higher levels. It's nice that they'll be addressing this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the approach.
Ace McLeod asks, speaking of Master, are all modifiers on? Is there much longer we can wait until we restart a hive with Iron Man on without having to go back to the lobby and reload the hive? It's something the team still want to do. I'm not sure it's a priority compared to when we first talked about that, given where the development effort's going right now, but it is on our list of something we want to do.
Oh man, it's lower priority? I used to play a ton of Escape, but this Iron Man thing was one of the big things that killed the mode for me. Oh well, maybe by Op 5-ish or whatever I'll play again.
Also, one of the things we've been talking about is the placement of the Iron Man modifier in Horde matchmaking. That's feedback that we've passed on to the team and they're thinking about. What was found in the Gears 4 data was when a team failed in Horde, it was very unlikely they finished if they were in matchmaking. So what would happen is they'd fail a wave and then they'd restart and they'd probably fail again and then they'd basically quit. So the reason that modifier was put there was actually because it was meant to be a way of going like, okay, well if you fail then the game ends and you don't have this weird kind of end where like some people want to stick it out and some people don't. And that was the thinking behind it, the mythology behind it. It's technically correct, but we understand from experience it's kind of like a bit odd at times, especially if you're not a group that has that mentality. And it's feedback that we hear a lot, so it's with the team and something they're looking at, and who knows, I don't have anything to share today, but it's definitely something that they're aware. Commonly we hear back on as, hey, I wish this was different.
This makes sense. I don't see a big issue with it, but then again, I'm not really a Horde matchmaking person. The
dropping frames in multiplayer, that has been flagged to the team. We talked about that last week. That is something that the team is looking into. The repro is proving to be tricky on that one.
I actually just ran into this last night. It was really annoying.
Can we get an increase to scrap a Horde Escape character XP? It takes forever to level up characters, even longer to upgrade the cards.
We tend to do character XP weekends, and I know the team wants to do more of them. In terms of the cards, the team is thinking about how we give you a better experience with getting higher level cards, especially on higher difficulties. I don't know if they're planning to address that as part of the big PvE like tuning stuff I was talking about, but I know that it's top of mind for them as something to get to on the PvE team.
I know people who've been asking for better drop rates on higher difficulties for quite a while now. I know I was doing that at launch as well. It's a shame that nothing's been done yet.
Add overrun. We'll pass along that feedback. The funny thing about it is like adding overrun or beast mode. For everybody that's like give me an overrun, there's another person that's give me a wingman. And for everybody that's give me a wingman, there's a give me a beast mode. And there's all of these variations in there. And I think, well, for us, you know, we know that there's lots of legacy modes that people love and would love to play again. Right now, the team's focus is on improving some of the issues with ranked and various other things. And once we get the game into a state that we're a lot happier with, then, you know, we can look at adding new content again.
They hit on Wingman last week, and I seriously doubt we'll be seeing it. Beast mode would be a ton of work, so I doubt we're going to see that as well. Overrun was a blast, and definitely my favorite of these three that they mentioned, and I was really disappointed to find out that it wasn't coming in Gears 5. But again, it would be a ton of work, so I don't suspect we'll be seeing it.
By the way, I'm seeing people talking about the Lancer. Change is coming.
Yeah, I'm guessing this will be the removal of active damage. They've hinted at that in the past.
There are plans to turn the character-specific cards to classes. We're not going to talk about that. I mean, we already gave a little bit of a hint on where things are going with PvE, but we don't have necessarily anything more that we're going to share with it this time.
Yeah, I'll definitely be doing an updated video on this now.
I think interesting to us, especially with Palace Guard, because obviously you have what we thought we put the cooler version in Tor, was the general consensus in the team.
I can't really argue about which is cooler, and being Palace Guard was new for Gears 4, I don't really have an issue with it being in the store. That said, if you have two versions of it, I feel the base one probably should have been the Tour one. People just don't like needing to pay for the OG.
What was interesting about it is when we did, I think it was Lieutenant JD or Dell, I can't remember which one, I think it was Dell. We didn't hear anything.
I mean, I don't remember people complaining about it being in the store, but I do remember people complaining about both the Lieutenant skins and the Halloween skins. There were people complaining about inconsistent placement of the sets. Either put it in the store or make it earnable. Don't put one in the store and have the other be earnable. It drives ambiguity, and it doesn't feel good as a consumer.
Will expressions be added to the new controller's shooter control scheme? I have to ask about that. That's a question. I don't know, Liam, if you've asked about it. I don't have an answer to that.
So what was the question? I got
if we would add expressions to the new shooter scheme.
Oh, are they not on it?
So yeah, it's there. You press LB and RB at the same time to bring up that menu, I think. I will say that this is a perfect example of some of the UI downfalls. The new control scheme's image in-game seems to be missing a lot of the details. And don't even get me started on some of my other control scheme rants, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine.
I know that the reason why Kenny plays with Anya now or Mira is because it was smaller hitboxes and he just learned with that. So
yeah.
I just wanted to put this in here because no, Kenny does not play as Anya, because guess what? Yeah.
Oh, actually, on the subject executions, also if you missed it in the WhatsApp, the home run execution will be coming up in a certain sniper-based playlist to be earned at some point in the near future.
Based on this and some Twitter conversations, it's sounding like it will be earnable in OSOC, but more specifically, perhaps some OSOC FFA.
Remove aim assist and ranked. The aim assist conversation is obviously a big one. I think that's something that that feedback has definitely been shared with the team. Conversations are going around. What is that all about? What is the impact to aim assist?
I've been given the impression that adhesion may be toned down, but overall aim assist probably isn't going anywhere.
8 bullets back in the National Chamber. It's something we are considering, yes. It's something that the team are looking at to basically decide if there's a place for it. Maintaining a balance is important. We're not trying to, we've already talked about that we're going to be addressing the Lancer in some manner in terms of maybe toning it down a little bit. we don't necessarily mind the Nasher going up to 8 shots. However, the current Nasher, as it is today, is a bit more balanced towards a 6-shot Nasher. So going to 8 shots is something that we're not close to doing, but there might be some adjustment that needs to happen to be at 8.
Just as with last week, I don't really feel too strongly one way or the other on this, but it's nice that they're looking at it.
Would you consider dropping Nasher FFA from 16 players to 8 so you can run on regular maps? Potentially. We'll see. We're looking at how we can make FFA more, getting it out there so we can get it on more maps and such.
It's probably more work than they want to deal with right now, so probably a low priority. But yeah, this certainly needs to be reworked so that FFA can take place on normal maps.
Any comments on matchmaking issues for Aussie players? It's been a month since I've had. We're looking at our hope is with our new rank system, it's going to help mitigate some of the matchmaking things that we're seeing out there from skill, and that should hopefully trickle down into improving matchmaking. The team is looking at how do we go and do that. Australia is a hard one. You guys are obviously pretty remote in terms of you got to cross oceans to play anybody to get out of there. So like playing the right playlist at the right time of day and everything becomes important. I know it's a bit of a challenge, and it is something that we're looking at.
I'm not really sure how fixing the ranking system will help matchmaking for quick match, but hey, whatever works, I guess.
People saying post-match ranks on scoreboard like in Gears 4. With the switch to the new ranking system, the complete rework we're doing, we're not putting any work into the current one. So definitely not on the current one. I don't know what the plan is on the new one, but definitely not on. You're not going to see it for what we have today.
Yeah, that makes sense. No need to support the current one if it's going to get scrapped soon. If we don't see this on the new one, though, I would be pretty surprised.
Bring Guardian rank back. You know what? I as much as we would I wish we could bring it back because I wish it was popular. But the fact of the matter is it was a mode that nobody played.
Can't argue with the numbers. It just wasn't popular enough. That said, I do feel that some of the lack in popularity was due to TC butchering the spawn system in Gears 4 and keeping it that way in Gears 5. It's a shame that they've been so against listening to fan feedback on this topic for years now.
When will custom matches have more settings like ammo count, starting weapons, pickup respawn times? That's something that we can look at. The team is focused on a lot bigger of issues right now than focusing on, or not issues is the wrong word, along big features rather than addressing something like specifics like customs. We can get into it. We can look at where it is in the backlog. But as of right now, that's not A, a highly requested feature, and B, something that we believe should be taking precedence over a lot of the other work that we're addressing currently.
We were told that they were working on this shortly after launch. It's a real shame that we haven't seen anything, and it's super disappointing that it's now a low priority. It's something fans have asked for since Gears 2 and probably the Gears 1 days. At minimum, they need to fix their system of adding bots to private matches and add the apply to all option for weapon swaps. There's a ton more that's needed, or, requested, I guess I should say. And to hear my thoughts on those and to see a menu mock-up that we made, check out the video that I link below. It's probably too late to have a big impact on Gears 5 at this point, but when Map Builder launches, we need to have these private match options to come with it. When Gears 6 eventually launches, this system needs to be flawless, so it's best to get it in the game and work out the kinks now.
Some people saying a skill card's going to be upgradable to level 6 soon. I don't know if I'd use the word soon, but plans are in motion.
Wow, that's surprising. I expected it to be up 4-ish, as that's sort of the timing that we got it for Gears 4. Sounds like it might be more of an Op 5 type thing.
Something I just wanted to correct. I think it was a couple of streams ago. I said that the idea of potentially when you complete a tour having the ability to keep getting some sort of benefit from tour or something was probably a little further out. Just know that it is actually a higher priority than I realized with the team.
Oh, that's cool. What do you all expect? Scrap, XP, or something else? I'm guessing that we'll be seeing it in Op 4. To hear my thoughts on what should happen after you finish the tour, check out the video linked below.
When we raise the caps back to caps breaks to normal, when you're playing in objective mode, if kills gives you more score than the actual objective. The reason why we did that is we felt like the data indicates that kills, believe it or not, have a higher impact on wins than then Camp Breaks.
Again, I made a video about this, which TC said was fairly accurate. It's linked below. They use machine learning to determine which variables most determine which team wins. The data is pointing towards kills being more important, so they adjusted the points in-game to reflect that. Personally, I feel like this was the right thing to do. It may feel counterintuitive, but again, you can't argue with the data.
When is the new ranking system coming? It's coming when it's ready.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to rush this. Yes, we want it, or some would argue we need it. But give them time to do it right. It's hurting them too. It's not like they're going to delay it any longer than needed.
Dana, can you let us make free-for-all maps because you guys made some out of escape tiles? The map builder was something that was on the roadmap for things to do, and it's not. It's just moved down on the priority list as we're focusing primarily more on making maps that can be used. Traditional maps, traditional multiplayer maps that would be used on could be used on Horde as well as Versus.
If they're focusing on adding traditional maps, I wonder what that says for free-for-all. Maybe they truly are looking at getting free-for-all playable on regular maps. And again, maps take time. Let's just be thankful that they finally realized what the priority should be.
How come MVP is only awarded to the actual winning team, to the actual MVP with the highest score, even off the losing team? Just like I would say online, we see a bit divisive around it. I think it's been a bit divisive internally. So if you have feedback on it, let us know and we'll pass it along.
I'm kind of torn on this. On one hand, since Gears 3, it's always gone towards the top performer. On the other hand, I sort of feel like MVP is usually associated with the winning team. Well, outside of Gears, that is. If you were the top performer, but your team lost, they still would have lost without you. So you didn't really impact the results, i.e. you weren't the most valuable player. If the player on the other team wasn't there, they may have lost, thus making them a good candidate for the most valuable player. I feel that the Coalition should probably leave it as is, where MVP is on the winning team. But let's introduce a top performer ribbon as well that's given to the highest score from either team. What are your thoughts?
Are there any possibilities for official mod support in Gears 5 and Tactics in the future? Not for 5. With Tactics, the game isn't necessarily going to ever have official mod support. But if that's something you want to go try, it's there. And if we see kind of a bunch of people going out there and finding ways to create things with Tactics, who knows?
That's not really surprising for Gears 5. For Tactics, it sounds like you can go at it all you want, as long as you're tech savvy enough. So go have at it.
Any idea when the escape modifiers are being added to Horde? That's not a near-term thing if we ever were to do it. It's a lot of work. The near-term thing would be us being able to activate them for special events. It's something that we really want to do because we think there's a ton of potential to do some really cool events using all the amazing escape modifiers we've made.
Yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had more for Horde? This is another place where they sort of dug a hole for themselves. Locking difficulties to modifiers was a terrible decision. Sticking with the theme for this video, to hear my views, check out the video that I made shortly after launch.
PvE community wants to know, is there anything you give us all outside of giving you guys more time? We are slowly dying.
It's kind of mumbled here, so a translation. PvE players are saying it's slowly dying. Can we get any updates other than it takes time?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff coming. What we did in the current operation was pretty substantial, even if it maybe didn't feel like it. I think it's a problem for us to solve in that it doesn't feel like we're doing a lot for it, even though we are in terms of game development time. You look at Operation 3, there's a whole new tile family for Escape. There's, the huge sweeping changes we did to Horde to hopefully, it seems like they went down well. Maybe didn't hit the mark fully, but at least were an improvement. And then new characters with brand new ways to play, which were, in my opinion, the coolest we've done in terms of especially with Cole, and how much custom stuff he has with it. And that's way more often than we were doing for PvE and we had Horde Frenzy added again. And that's way more than we were doing in 4, but that's a comment I see often from the PvE community, mainly from Horde fans. I will say there's some surprises coming up for Horde as well.
Sounds like Horde fans have some good things in store in the future, but not really much specifically. So hopefully we don't have to wait long for that.
Any plans to release UE and Gears 4 to Steam? Nothing right now.
That's not surprising. They're not really supporting those games, so not really any need to bring them to Steam.
Is the operation timer accurate? Right now it is.
This one is sort of surprising, but in a good way. With all the COVID stuff going on, it's nice to hear that they're still on track for this.
The quitters were looking at doing things like that.
This has been a big complaint. Hopefully we don't need to wait too long. Though, given the brevity of the answer, it sounds like it may not be a near-term thing.
The Scottish flag's a hard one. Apparently, Microsoft has a policy about provincial flags not being in things. And while it was in Gears 4, it's something that we're not allowed to put into the game.
Not really much to say other than, that's a strange policy.
Speaking of an unpopular opinion, don't nerf the Lancer. Many people I play with enjoy the firefights. And this is the thing, is lots and lots of legacy people love the way that they like the Nasher fights and they love to be able to skill in the movement. But there are a lot of people that like the Lancer play and like where the Lancer's at.
I used to hate the Lancer, and now I love it. As I've grown older and I play games less and less, I've started to decline in my physical skills in-game. Thus, I'm worse with the Nasher than I used to be. The Nasher I find to be more physically skillful, but the Lancer and support play can be more mentally demanding. So no, I'm not afraid that I've grown to love the Lancer.
Why not make some characters permanently purchasable in the store? That is something that we're talking a lot about how do we go and improve that store experience so that it doesn't have I missed it and it went away. We want to make sure that we're keeping it so it feels like a good thing. So we'll see.
Hey, another video topic. Man, I am on a roll. It's almost like my videos are actually discussing the issues that fans care about. And to be clear, yes, I think the Coalition should have everything be in the store permanently, no limited time FOMO BS.
My personal opinion is such that I think the best part about Gears is that it's a high skill game. And I think for me, if we look at, and I know that Jamie and other people are looking at it, how do we go and celebrate the skill inside of the game, and while also making each weapon feeling competitively viable.
This somewhat goes back to my mental versus physically skilled comment earlier. I also want to add that I don't think it's terrible to raise the skill floor. The skill gap in Gears is huge, and the ceiling is still rising a bit. In order to make it more enjoyable for new players, or even just less skilled players, the floor needs to come up a bit. Sure, this may lessen the skill gap, but it's still a huge skill gap in Gears. It doesn't suddenly make worse players better than the good players, it just starts to give them a fighting chance and make the game more enjoyable for them. Yeah, we need to keep Gears a skilled game, I get that. But if we want it to grow, we need to stop eliminating TC's attempts to raise that floor.
Will we get an alternate single life mode other than Gridiron? Right now, we're not working on any other modes.
That's interesting. He didn't say that they weren't looking for a new single life mode. It was more of a blanket, we're not working on any new modes, period. I wonder how fans will take that. I don't personally care, as the only thing I feel we're really missing at this point is Overrun, but I wasn't really holding out hopes for that anyways. It is weird, though, that they said that they're not working on any new modes right now.
Can we have an input symbol next to players instead of the PC symbol? We talked about that. It would probably be if the only way we would do that is if we were matchmaking based on input or anything around it. It's unlikely to change, I thought.
That's an interesting concept. I haven't really thought of that.
Any improvements coming to the UI?
Oh god, I hope so. The UI is kind of a mess in some places.
We're always looking at improving things. I don't know how to give you an answer around the UI. There are things that the team will be adding and improving into the into Op4 around that. So, sure.
Wow, it's really unfortunate that he didn't seem too confident in any big changes. It's pretty bad in some places.
Yeah, the UI is super buggy. Any bugs, definitely flag those through. You can submit with a video through the support.gearsofwar.com, and that's always helpful for us.
Oh, okay. How much time do you have? The bugs and issues aren't that hard to find. If TC's so big on Horde, why don't you load up Horde and look at the scoreboard as a prime example?
Will Carmines be in Horde in this op or the next? They'll be playable sometime in PvE.
Not really any news here, but I just wanted to include this for anyone who wasn't sure.
Were we told about a roadmap? The roadmap conversation is one that we're having right now, and it's just about like how much can we share once we get some once we get certainty around certain things that we want to do, and once we have that, then we'll be able to give better communications around what's going to be happening when.
This is a pretty nice one to close on. I recently had a nice long Twitter post about transparency along the lines of a roadmap. I feel TC needs to relax things a bit and give us more of an idea of what types of things they're working on, even if not set in stone yet. They're certainly doing better, but it's still not where most people would like it to be. We don't need to know about maps, characters, skins, and things like that, but there's some concepts and things that they're changing that it would be nice to know some general themes about what they're looking at. In addition, once the Coalition's leaning a certain way, it would be nice to know what direction they're leaning. Not only does this give fans something to look forward to, but it allows fans to give more directed feedback towards things that the Coalition is actively looking at. If you have the time, I'd highly recommend that you read this 2-page write-up that I did. As usual, it's linked below. And that's going to do it for this video. A full stream is linked below for anyone who wants to check it out. Please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you next time.